You can call it a disorder all you want. Not my monkey, not my zoo. That's not how I view my life. I don't lead with judgment. I don't lead with knowing it all. I lead with wondering. My brain would tell me the message I'd sent it the night before. It's okay, Myrna. You don't need to get up. But if you don't, everything stays the same. I go, oh, okay, I'll get up. Somehow I put together that education was the way out of poverty and nothing was going to stop me.
Welcome to the Art of ADHD. I'm your host, Liam Danger Park. And on today's show, we have a very special guest. A guest without whom this show wouldn't exist. It's my mom. Her name's Myrna. And in addition to being a person who was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, she's a successful entrepreneur, a hilarious conversationalist, and a great mom. In this podcast, we discuss entrepreneurship, attitude, the power of curiosity, and so much more. I hope you enjoy the show.
So, you're the one to blame for all of this.
I am.
They say ADHD is genetic.
Yeah.
And not only have you bestowed that gift on me, you've also bestowed this attitude of like, I can get things done. But like, you didn't know you had ADHD.
I know, and that's part of it. Like, I bestowed this gift on you, but I didn't know I had it till you told me you'd been diagnosed. I'm going, wow, really? How can that be? And you look at me like, Mom, like, have you looked in the mirror lately? I had never had a clue that I would have had ADHD. And because of the way our family was and is, I thought we were all normal and everybody else was weird.
Yeah. So like, growing up, you're my mom. You're a little bit older than me. ADHD wasn't like well known or talked about.
No, certainly not when I was a child. Certainly not.
So like in retrospect, were there any like red flags? Like if you were looking back at your childhood, what do you think?
Oh yeah, lots of red flags. Because like from the time I was 12, I had a job after school because I had to be busy, and I would still go, do all my homework, get everything done, and get top marks.
Yeah.
At noon, I would come home. I taught myself how to crochet rather than sitting around for an hour at lunch. I would run home, crochet my little brains out, and then run back to school. Or I'd make the coolest jeans and I'd embroider them in bright, cool colors because I needed something to do at lunch hour.
Yeah.
And then when I went to university, I couldn't stand being quiet and having to study so much. So my strategy there was I would buy a big package of bubble gum and I would sit in the library and I would chew my face off. And when I was done the whole package of bubble gum, I was done studying. That's all I could do.
Yeah.
But I realize now that the chewing of the bubble gum was to burn off some excess energy.
Yeah, keep you stimulated and engaged.
Stimulated and engaged. And like silly ideas. And I used to doodle a lot while I listened to the professors.
Yeah.
And do kind of little art things. I'm not artsy, but they just talk too slow.
Yeah.
Like I would measure, he moved his belt buckle. He must be losing weight or gaining weight. Like being distracted by stuff like that.
I had a teacher too who was so dull that I would practice taking notes with my left hand in reverse.
Yeah.
Like just a mirror image of my right hand notes just to stay
entertain
present.
yourself. Yeah. But the funny thing was after you were diagnosed with ADHD and one of your former teachers, I think a vice principal, lives near me, and I saw him and I said, "Hey, Rob, Liam's been diagnosed with ADHD. Like, wow." And he looks at me and says, "Well, where's the surprise in that?"
Yeah.
And I'm going, like, you went to school for how many years? Nobody ever told me, or even no indication at one parent-teacher interview. And because I thought you were quite normal, because you were quite a bit like me, it never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Never occurred to me.
And so let's speak to that too, because like one of the ideas of this podcast is the art of ADHD. How do you manage? And what you're describing is it didn't occur to you because, well, you were studying hard. You were still getting your homework done and doing like 5 other things.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people with ADHD, they struggle to even get their homework done. Like, where did you find the motivation or the focus to like actually do that homework?
Oh, I grew up in a fairly poor family, and at 5 years old or so, I heard about university. And somehow my mother told me the story. I remember some of this, but my mom told me the rest of the story. Somehow I put together that education was the way out of poverty and nothing was going to stop me. I was going to go to university and I was going to work my way out of poverty.
Yeah.
And I would not have to live the life that they did. So it was always work hard or starve to death, work hard or starve to death.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm going to work hard and I'm going to overcome whatever comes to me.
Yeah.
Like literally, those are the words in my head.
Yeah. That sort of speaks to an ADHD thing too. Like a lot of people say it's sort of like a lot of time black and white thinking.
All or nothing.
All or nothing.
All or nothing.
And-
And people that have a safety net don't get the I was in sales, make a sales call or starve to death. They just think that they're just going to be able to cruise through.
Yeah.
I had no cruising through. I had no net.
Yeah, like I'm blessed to have been your son and you have succeeded a lot. And I've sometimes I felt like almost cursed by my safety net. Like I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Don't take it away. But also, it's not easy for me to get in that mindset of work or starve to death because I have this trust that starving to death isn't on the table.
Like even at the stage of my life, as well as I've done, as secure as I am, that's still the way my brain works. Yeah. Like, I want to do something. I have to do it or I don't do it. Yeah. Like, and if I don't do it, well, I used to run. And so it's really hard to get up in the morning and run, and as people know. Yeah. So at night before I'd go to bed, and this is again before I knew I had ADHD, I would program my brain so I'd know what to say first thing in the morning. So I'd wake up, the alarm would go to go run, and I'd think, my brain would tell me the message I'd sent it the night before. It's okay, Myrna. You don't need to get up. Pause, pause, pause. But if you don't, everything stays the same. And I go, oh, okay, I'll get up. Yeah. But I'd program myself so I had to, again, that sort of that all or nothing thinking.
Yeah. But also a little bit of a choice. Like you sort of trick yourself.
I trick myself into thinking I've got a choice. Oh, I love tricking myself into thinking I've got choices.
Yeah, you got a choice. It's just one of the options is pretty dismal.
Pretty dismal, and I don't like dismal options. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so other people don't know you like I know you. You're my mom. Tell me a bit about your like business trajectory. From poverty, what's your route to where you are now?
Well, I went to university to go into law school, but I got there and I found out the course I needed to take wasn't there. I had an uninformed guidance counselor in my small town. So I went into arts, which seemed like, oh God, that's arts. I'll never get a job because it's just arts. So I went into home economics. I majored in family studies because it had psychology and sociology. And then partway through that, I realized, oh, I'm going to be 21. I can't be a counselor at 21. I don't know anything. So I took all my options as business options. So I had a degree in home economics, major in family studies with a minor in business, which was crazy. But it turned out to be the best thing because I ended up going into real estate. So how I went into real estate is I clearly remember as a little kid going from my small town into the big city to visit my grandma and grandpa. We're sitting at a stop sign and I see a real estate sign and on it says MLS, multiple listing service. Those were my initials. Yeah. That was profound. That struck me. Yeah. I don't know. It stuck with me forever. And then growing up in a family of 5 kids, we played Monopoly a lot. And I'd wax everybody. Like I'd get all the properties and I'd have all the rentals and I'd win all the time because it was important to me. So after university, I went into some sales things and then I decided that I would go into real estate. I went into commercial real estate knowing nothing at 24. That was kind of dumb because it's harder than residential real estate. But within 2 or 3 years, I'd set up my own brokerage and I was selling, managing, recruiting, training, doing everything, which again served my ADHD. And as time progressed, I built a company, sold it, worked for somebody, started another company, da-da-da-da-da. But I was thinking about this on the way here, being in real estate sort of serves ADHD because you're going so many different directions. But being a real estate manager of 50 people really served my ADHD because they could walk in, I could do 50 problems an hour and I wouldn't bat an eye. And I'd never get impatient. I'd just think, oh God, the blood is flowing. Yeah. And I got to think about economics. I got to think about finance. I got to think about psychology. I got to think about sales skills. Every problem was different. And it fed me. Yeah. It fed me.
So you were talking about your degree being home economics and your interest in psychology, and then you pivot to business. So many business people are like, our business is a family, and never acknowledge the fact that like most families are quite dysfunctional.
Oh, so are businesses too, right?
Yeah. So like, So what you learned about like family psychology, how did that apply in a business context?
Oh, it was the best thing. It was the best thing. I had a manager, Ken, who was a little bit older than me and like really exactly behaviorally opposite of me. And so my sales team, if they wanted a certain kind of thing, they'd go to Ken. If they wanted another kind of thing, they'd go to me. But if one of us said no, they'd go to the other one, just like little kids. Oh, can I go to the movie, Mom? No, she says. And so they go to Dad, and Dad says yes.
Yeah.
They played us the same way.
Yeah.
And the dynamics of things that I learned about family dynamics, it is the same as running a business in an organization. Yeah. And key things that I learned, like he who loves the most has the least power.
Yeah.
I was always careful to really love, but not love the most.
Yeah.
Like, and just like when you have kids, you need to treat them differently because they have different needs, different aptitudes. I would treat my salespeople differently. Like I had different relationships with them.
Yeah.
And the ones that were difficult for me to identify with, I would find ways into their heart. Like, for example, there was one guy that I just didn't relate. He made me crazy. Like, and I had to sit still and talk to him. That was really hard. But I found out he liked peanuts. So I'd buy a big container of peanuts from Costco. And when I needed to talk to him, I would have had the can of peanuts on his desk, and I would go sit on his desk and we would eat peanuts together and talk, and I could make it through.
Yeah.
I also wasn't patient. Like people get to the heart of the problem. Let's move on. Let's solve the next one. So I deliberately took a very small office. There was no room for a salesperson to sit in there. So if they wanted to talk to me about a problem, they had to stand. That way they were much quicker to describing their problems and coming to a solution because their feet would get tired.
Yeah. It's really interesting because like I think a lot of ADHD, like owning it, thriving with it, is designing an environment that works. Like a lot of people are like, I don't fit in. Maybe you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, so how did you like come up with these ideas to design your environment, to have a small office? Like, where did you get that?
Oh, because it drove me crazy. So I had to come up with a solution or go crazy or lose my patience with people. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to always respect them. Always see the best in people. Like I think my role as a manager, as an owner of a business, was to grow people to reflect their greatness. So I needed to stay patient and not get impatient with them, to honor them. But it honored them, and they learned a lot more by not rambling forever too.
Yeah.
You know, because I originally, another thing I did with them is I'd say, if you want to talk to, I don't like problems because problems make me want to hide under my desk. So if you come to me, we must talk about a challenge or an opportunity, because then my brain fires. Oh, good. Challenge, opportunity. Ooh, what are we going to do here? And so, okay, and then you had to define what the issue was.
Yeah.
You had to give me 3 potential solutions. You had to tell me which one you thought was going to be the very best, and we would talk about that. And if I thought you were completely off track, I would tell you. But 9 times out of 10, they weren't completely off track. They just needed a sounding board, and that's what I needed to be. But it needed to be succinct. It could not be a rambly half-hour story.
Yeah. That speaks to one of the other things I found like was most helpful with ADHD. I think one of the biggest differences between the people who are thriving and the people who are struggling, and it's hard to say this because a lot of people don't like to hear it, is that perspective. The way you framed like problem versus challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, problem. I just go, oh God, can I just hide under my desk and from all of you so you don't know that I'm even here? But like really, the language made all the difference to me. All the difference. I've been through some other things, and I've really watched my language.
Yeah.
And I did a trip to Italy just for fun. Walked 420 kilometers in Italy this fall. From a guy I met online, which is a completely crazy story too.
Yeah.
Not romantically, but just, and I was visiting with Brian when I was there and sat in his living room, and he said, Myrna, people lead with different things. You always lead with curiosity.
Yeah.
Well, again, I look at it through my eyes. Doesn't everybody? But no, like we had a really robust conversation about it. And I've started to know I do lead with curiosity, and that is what's different, because curiosity keeps me open. I don't lead with judgment. I don't lead with knowing it all. I lead with wondering.
Yeah. And
that makes, I think, me more approachable and more solution focused.
Yeah. I think that's one of the other great gifts that I've gotten from you, because I feel like I've described myself as chronically curious.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so grateful, because I think every kid has a phase where it's like, why? Or what's this mean? Or what's that? And I think probably, especially ADHD kids that might be prone to that.
Yeah.
and get talked out of that or shamed out of that or guilted out of that. And they learn to fear their curiosity.
And they've learned, like, even not to articulate them. I was on a hike with my friend this week, and I said something, and she looked at me and she said, "Why would you even think that or ask that?" I'm thinking, because I'm curious about it, but I'll just maybe watch what questions I let escape out of my mouth sometimes. Because they're rhetorical sometimes, because I'm just curious, and they're better off just kept inside.
Yeah, that's a fun challenge, is like keeping things in.
Yeah.
How did you manage that, right? Like a lot of people with ADHD, they've got emotional dysregulation problems. As a boss, employer, that can be a huge challenge. The ups, the downs, the anger. How have you managed that over the years?
I think it helped that like I've said already, my primary concern was respecting the people that I worked with. So given that was the first place I went, no matter how much stress I was under, I would do my utmost not to take it out on them.
Yeah.
Because if that was my first go-to. Yeah. And as a parent, to protect your children from the difficulties that are going on within a business, like there's difficulties going on within a family, that was my first go-to. I had to do that. And I think I was open enough, and I laugh easily enough about silly stuff that it created enough of a fun environment that would disseminate some of the stress. It would tone it down.
Yeah, that easy laughing, I think, is helpful, because every now and then this brain can lead you to do some stupid things.
Oh yeah, the easy laughing really helps, and that's one of the things that lightens in an atmosphere in a family or in a workplace too. And some of my people told me when I left, they said, like, they didn't know where I was in a 6,000 square foot building. They just listen. Oh, she's down at that end of the hall, because I'd be talking and laughing with somebody.
Yeah.
And having a good time. And once when you got, should I tell you a story with you guys?
Yeah.
We were at church one time, and the priest calls all the little kids up to the front in terms of, and you and your brother as well. And he's talking about the prodigal son and a son being lost. And, oh, you poor children, he says to you, like, what would you do if you lost your parents? And you or your brother pipe up and say, "Oh, we just listen," and we'd hear our mom laugh, and we'd know where she was. And of course, in church, I burst out into laughter, and everybody knew where I was in church too, because I don't know, it just comes easily to me.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Like, I think a lot of people who are growing up poor, and like a lot of people with ADHD are prone to poverty.
Yes.
And people growing up poor are prone to, like, some have a great sense of humor. Some of the funniest people definitely are poor, but it can also lead to like a victim mindset or self-limiting experience. What do you think helped safeguard you against that?
I think it was do the deed or starve to death. And I didn't want to starve to death. Yeah. And I never would have starved to death. Like, something would have happened. Like, this is Canada. But I needed to make the circumstances dire enough that it would propel me into action.
Yeah.
So I'd freak out, but I'd keep moving towards action. And I also had breast cancer. And in my darkest days, because that was when my marriage to your dad had ended, and in the middle of the night, I'd wake up and I would think, and then I'd go, no. And I'd just think, I'm creating new neural pathways in my brain. And I would say over and over and over again, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. And the undercurrent behind I am so blessed was, I wonder what it's like on the other side of this. Yeah. What's my life going to be like once I'm through this? So I created a new neural pathway of I am so blessed and staying curious about what's on the other side. So then I couldn't go to the dark side. And I had to say it over and over again, because I had to keep my brain full, or I would just slide off that new neural pathway and go into the dark side. So I wanted to make them really, really deep pathways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think gratitude is like another one of those superpowers that a lot of people take for granted. Because like there's a coaching question I've heard in some like training things that is like, how is the worst thing that ever happened to you the best thing that ever happened to you?
Yeah, and you and your brother, I think, both talk about the fact that it's the bad things that happen that are the best memories. So it's about taking, what did I learn from that? Like I just was on a 2-week staycation with my girlfriend. She signed us up for yoga. Yeah. I've hated yoga. I've pretty much been a yoga. Kitty took me once to yoga, and other than that, I've been a yoga virgin. I've been a yoga rebel, and I'm thinking, no. This is so stupid. Like, you gotta you got to be listening. You got to stay focused. You got to move a certain way. You got to look a certain way. You got to have the certain kind of clothes. Like I just can't do this. Like I just start screaming inside to think about doing this.
Yeah.
But okay, for $38, we can go for a 2-week trial.
Yeah.
So I did it. And I found out how mindful it was. Because if I have to do a stretch, I'll stretch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, done.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that in yoga.
Yeah.
It's so many breaths, and it's way more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I've learned from that. Like, I know this. I brought you because I just can't stand all those black tights that everybody wears. Makes me crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I bought myself 1, 2,
Yeah.
3 pairs of really fun yoga pants. I'm the only one with fun yoga pants. Everybody else is in black tights, but I don't care because they make me crazy.
Yeah.
So wearing my bright colored pants makes me like yoga more. But the lesson, to get back to the lesson I learned, was I've been a yoga rebel far too long. I have really tight hamstrings and tight quads.
Yeah.
I should not have been a yoga rebel for so long. So the next time I'm rebelling about something, against something, I'm going to flip back to this yoga experience and think, oh, this could be the best thing in my life that I learned how to do yoga.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue with yoga. So where else have I got a blind spot? No, that's not good for me.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing. Give it a try. Don't be so black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a hilarious example and very relatable to a lot of people, because I think one of the other like gifts and curses of this kind of brain is a lot of us have a aversion to authority, especially unjust authority or unproven authority. Like if an authority hasn't demonstrated to us that they're worthy of our submission,
Yeah.
we don't care. And
That's right.
sometimes even we can rebel against our own authority.
I'm not going to go to
ourselves.
bed at 10. I know it's good for me. I'm staying up till 11. Like, what does that prove?
Yeah. And so like I see so many like in the ADHD help spaces online, which I don't like to participate because of this, is like cynical memes about using a planner. It's like, have you tried using a planner? Like as if it's not helpful. It's like, it's really helpful to use a planner. It's difficult and you're going to probably screw up and you're probably going to forget it and lose it under your bed or in a backpack for 3 weeks, a couple
2
times a
years.
year,
Yeah.
you know, like, but there's a reason people are, suggest things.
Yeah. I've pretty much moved to electronic now because I lost them so often. So it's been really a good thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's advantages to each kind. And it's like, it's not like you need to find one way that works for your whole life.
Yeah.
It's probably a lifelong experiment.
It is. It is. Every year, every January, I think, ooh, what am I going to do this year? What color of a planner could I get?
Yeah. So how, you don't really rise high in business if you aren't willing to submit to a just authority, like from time to time. Like you can rebel to a certain amount, but there are certain tracks.
And
that are
I'm in a
helpful.
highly regulated industry, real estate, highly regulated. But it's for the most part, it is for the better good. It protects the consumer, it protects the real estate agents, it protects our system. So I want everybody protected. I don't want anybody to have to go to court. I don't want to fight. I don't want people's lives to be ruined because they get a bad home for one reason or another. So again, the consequences are so dire of not following the rules that I force myself to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Powerful empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about like other things? Like you gave the example of sleep schedule. A lot of people with ADHD, they struggle with substance abuse or various, like video game addiction, whatever. Like, how have you built a structure in your life that has enabled you to achieve at a high level?
When I go off the rails, I guess I work hard to give myself grace, like just get back on track.
Yeah.
Like that time is gone. I can't recapture that. It does nothing for me to have negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And I'm really blessed too because I don't have a lot of negative self-talk. I think that's a gift that you're kind of born with, and if you have negative self-talk, you've got to work hard to change that.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a big journey.
Yeah.
But again, build a neural pathway. I am so blessed. When you don't know what to think and you're thinking crappy thoughts, I am so blessed. I'm so blessed. I don't know how the hell I'm blessed, but I am so blessed. I'm so blessed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like I think I got an early childhood memory of seeing this motivational speaker guy came to my school and I think a few other things. I think I saw him at least 2 or 3 times think Alvin Law is his name.
Oh yeah, the guy with no arms and no legs.
I think he's got legs,
Got
but
legs.
no arms.
Okay, yeah.
But
and
he plays
came,
drums
and he came to
trombone.
Vernon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like probably left a mark on me because obviously this guy has some serious challenges.
Yeah.
And most people would probably say problems.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he, like who would encourage a guy with no arms to play drums? Yeah. And yet he's played drums. He's been on record. He's been in music videos.
Yeah. He's had to try harder, but again, probably maybe a bit of that stubbornness. You say, I can't, I'll show you that I can.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think it speaks to that like grace, that I'm so blessed thing.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, you could be like, oh man, I don't have arms, or oh, I'm so glad I got such dexterous toes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm so glad I even, like the yoga, I'm so glad I even tried this.
yeah.
I did aerial yoga yesterday. I'm sure I was between 20 and 40 years older than everybody else in the room. Oh, well.
Yeah. That's awesome to like continue trying new things. I think that's one of my gifts too, like, which for a lot of years felt like a curse because it's like, I'm trying a new thing again. Like, why can't I stick with anything? And now I see all these people who are just stuck in a weird place.
We had friends that used to come over almost weekly for a meal, and I'd say, so what's the idea of the week? What's your great idea now? And I always have one, at least one.
Yeah.
I'd try to curb it to one because otherwise it sounded like I was too much on a runaway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so, yeah, what is the idea for the week? Like maybe not the week, but like this season of your life, right? You've owned a real estate company, been managing broker. Do you have a vision for what moving into the next phase of life looks like for you?
Yeah, I think I do because I'm starting to recognize that I have wisdom through experience, and I'd like to share that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about doing some like mini clips, but again, I can't run all this stuff that we got going on here right now.
Yeah.
But use some mini clips, even to talk, about my yoga experience, about like I rebelled against it for I don't know how long, to what end, who did that serve? So what did I learn from that? And so I can share those kinds of ideas with other people that are going through those kinds of challenges, and to just share the idea of. I've met some people that have retired and been very bitter about their lives, and they gave their life to the man or to whatever they gave their life to. Okay, well, here you are now.
Yeah.
What did you get out of that? What are you going to do with that? What positive things came from that, and where can you propel that next?
Yeah.
And just being open, not setting a path or a rigid path, just being open to opportunities, because there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. I don't know if you've talked about in this, but when you know of something, like you have a little red car now, you probably see little red cars everywhere, right? So when you become aware of something, you see opportunities. So to put it in your mind, to be aware, because now I'm researching yoga studios where I live. I never did that before, but my reticular activating system is now open to those new ideas.
Yeah.
So keep your mind open to new ideas.
Yeah. I think this is interesting to explore because most of the people I've interviewed so far are in my age demographic. They're
But I've been your age demographic too, and I use these tools.
Yeah.
I built my first real estate company built on a reticular activating system.
Yeah.
Because I wrote down what I wanted. I hated prima donnas. They all wanted special favors. I wanted steady eddies.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be married, probably with families, and have a mortgage so they had to work. I wanted them to drive normal cars, not really fancy cars, so they had enough bills, but not so many that it paralyzed them. So when I would sit at my front office, I would watch you drove into my parking lot. If they fit that criteria, I'd go talk to them at the front desk. If they drove in a real fancy car, I didn't bother with them because they weren't my peeps. But my reticular activating system, by defining what I wanted, I could see it.
Yeah.
So define what you want and you'll start to see it. At your age, it's a perfect age.
Yeah.
It's a perfect age.
I agree. And what I was sort of like leading myself to, excuse me, was a lot of, like, I hear about people having mentors all the time. Mm-hmm. And I like what you're describing is like the next phase in your life is sort of, I've heard is almost like an archetypal way for people to enter age with grace, right? Mm-hmm. Is like at a certain point you exit the workforce, but you are like a wisdom keeper for your community.
Yeah.
I think our cultures become so fractured between the ages. A lot of us are really stuck in our own age demographic and bubbles. And so how do we, like, have you had any mentors? And like, do you have any ideas about like, how would a young person find a mentor? Like,
Well, I have had mentors, and mostly people that I worked with, and they really shaped my thinking, really shaped my thinking. And I was so grateful to them. I've mentored, like I've been a business coach for very new entrepreneurs, and that's been really, really interesting. I don't know how you find, but when you find somebody you're attracted to somebody, take the risk. The worst they can say is no. Like, hey, could we get together for coffee once a month, twice a month? Like, I'd be thrilled if somebody asked me that, because again, a new person, a new experience. I get to learn from them.
yeah,
I get to see what their path is taking them. What can I, and it wouldn't be all about what can I give them. It'd be, what can I take away from you?
Yeah.
What insights are you going to give me? How are you going to show me a different way of seeing the world?
yeah. Yeah, I gotta go on a hike this week. There's like a guy I know who hikes every morning up Knox. He's dedicated. And there's a Tuesday morning hike that's all entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so some of the people who come on his daily hikes are from there. And I met a 20-year-old kid on the last hike. And it was so exciting and interesting because I feel like I'm close enough to 20 that I really like empathize, but also far enough from 20 that I feel like an alien.
Yeah, but you can mentor him in just ways you don't even know.
Yeah.
In like watching how he'll watch how you move. He'll watch how you speak about your wife. He'll watch how you talk about probably managing your money. And in just conversation, he will learn so much from you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it felt exciting to be able to say things that I feel like I wish I thought about. Like one was like at 20, like you said, when you got out of school with like counseling knowledge at 21, who cares? And I feel like it's easy to sort of look at your whole life at 20 and be like, who cares?
Yeah.
But here I am like over 10 years older than him. And I'm thinking, you've seen things I don't understand and I could learn from you. So like, yeah, sometimes youth is a curse or whatever.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's a blessing, and sometimes it's an asset. And I think a lot of people have a hard time seeing the blessing. You know, they get stuck thinking like, oh, when I'm a little bit older, I'll do this or figure this out.
What I find out, because like I was kind of disappointed sometimes that I didn't just take a whole business degree, right? Like, come on, just think what I could have done with a whole business degree, right?
Yeah.
But from my vantage point now, everything I did made a difference and led me to where I am and helped me solve situations and challenges as I moved along. So what if you did some things that maybe weren't so good, but you learned something from them? And as you move through life, you're going to go, oh, that helped me. That bad experience has helped me where I am now. But you can't see it in the moment. You need the gift of time.
Yeah.
So again, that's why not to beat yourself up, to give yourself grace. Well, that was a stupid idea, but I guess I'll learn something from that and move on.
Yeah.
Just move on. I got a note from my friend at Christmas, and one of the things she said, quit looking back. You're not going there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think but that speaks to one of the other problems I feel like I've faced with the way my brain works. I forget to look back at all.
Oh.
And there is some benefit to like reflection.
Reflection, there's some benefit to reflection, but you're not going there. And looking back, people that look back all the time tend to rehash, more of a victim mentality. Like, you're not going there. Yeah. If there are lessons to be learned, they will pop up in the future and you go, oh yeah, I've been here before.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry too much about that, because there's nothing you can do about the past. You cannot recreate it. You only have this moment, and this moment will lead to a better future.
Yeah. Well, that's important. 'Cause, like, I think that's one of the other things I've seen that really paralyzes people is getting attached to, like, yeah, maybe once upon a time you had an incredible victory. You were so on top of the world and you're not that anymore. But if your identity reference is that experience, a lot of people get sort of stuck.
Yeah.
Or the opposite. Like, yeah, maybe you were poor and you'll always be poor, and you just look back and so I think it is a bit of a balancing act, but maybe you don't need to look back much at all, I guess.
I don't know that you do. I don't know what it serves. Like, I go back to my class reunions from my small town and they're talking about stuff and I'm going, oh, wow. I have no recollection of that, because I've had a whole lot of life since then. And I don't I don't remember that particular English class in grade 12. I haven't, no.
Yeah.
Like, I hardly remember what I did 2 weeks ago because moving forward, I got cool things going on in the future. So why would I worry about what happened before?
Yeah.
Like, it puzzles me, actually.
Yeah. That speaks to, I think, one of the things I love about the ADHD and why I don't love the label ADHD, because it's a disorder. And I wouldn't trade it in, because it's sort of, if you were watching a good, like a TV show, like some mini series, don't you want a good plot twist? Oh, I love a good plot
I love
twist.
a good plot twist, yeah. And, I don't care about the label because, like, I'm a woman growing up working in a man's world. I've had so much disregard. Like, I just don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, grow up.
Yeah.
I don't care if you give me a label. I know it doesn't. Disorder? I think it's like, to use one of your words, it's a superpower. It works for me. You can call it a disorder all you want. Not my monkey, not my zoo. That's not how I view my life.
Yeah.
So I don't care.
So when I got sort of brought this label, what made you think it was worth pursuing for yourself?
Like, it explained things. I started to understand myself better. And it still helps me to understand myself better. Like, I've got a really important sales presentation. I remember this from years ago. And as I'm left the office and I'm driving to the presentation, I finally have 5 minutes in the car and I'm thinking, oh, gee, if I'd have brought this or that thing, I'd make a way better presentation. Oh, well, I'll just figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But it would have helped me to understand that's why I did that. So then I could have created a compensating behavior.
Yeah.
But it gives me understanding, and it helps me to understand when other people aren't like me. I go, oh yeah. Like when I get impatient, I think, oh, that's ADHD. Just chill, Myrna, just chill and figure out a strategy. Like, I had other strategies too. I had a really well-trained receptionist who knew when to knock on the door and interrupt me before I would go crazy from having to spend too much time with somebody.
That's your team. Yeah.
My team. I had a team. I had a team but again, I didn't have the ADHD diagnosis or whatever. I just knew this person's going to make me crazy. I cannot stay here long. You must help me escape.
Yeah. So you developed so many strategies before you even had the label.
Oh yeah. Here's one. I would ring my own, if someone was on the phone too long, I'd ring my own doorbell. And then go to their, oh, gotta go. Someone's at the door.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a hack.
I'd give people I want to talk to have a robust conversation. They got a really big, really hot cup of coffee because they typically wouldn't leave till the coffee was gone. Yeah. People I did not want to talk too long, they got a smaller, colder cup of coffee so they would leave sooner.
All these little micro strategies.
So
when you got the label and then the understanding, has that affected your strategies? Like, if you picked up new ones or...
No, I don't know if I picked up new ones, but I understand why I behaved the way I do. So I'm just more calm about it, more accepting. Oh, that's why I'm doing that. Yeah. That's okay. I just more acceptance, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think because I had good strategies considering I didn't know why I needed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they, especially on the internet, trying to like advocate, they seem to think the world needs to change for them a little bit. Do you think there's like ways that like the mainstream society could adapt for our kind of brain, or is it necessary?
Stoicism, the philosophy of Stoicism says that all we have control over is ourselves. Yeah. So to expect the world to change for us, it's not going to.
Yeah.
So I would prefer that I had stayed in control and I changed for myself. And I changed to the world, or I just ignore that part of the world and don't make it part of my life.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to change. And that's like pushing a rock uphill. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it seems pretty outrageous to me.
Yeah, the world's not going to change for us. But I can take pieces of the world that would accommodate that.
Yeah.
And work better with it.
Yeah.
And just techniques or strategies for being impatient.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like a lot of the people who do say this, they're sort of comparing it to like ramps or handicap parking spots. But the way I see it is kind of like certain plants require certain kinds of soil.
Yeah.
And if you're not thriving, you might need to be repotted.
Yeah.
It's not like, you don't want to just like add the right nutrient balance and try to like super science your way into fitting where you are. Sometimes it's about moving to a new
environment.
thing.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the beginning, I went to university thinking I was going to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, boy, a lawyer with ADHD, reading those long contracts, I might have committed suicide. Like it would not have served me.
Yeah.
Like there's lots about the law that I know, and I'm really specific about what I know, but I don't know that it would have served me. So that turn in my road, because the world didn't suit me, the university world didn't suit me there, I made other choices. And only with the gift of hindsight do I know that.
Yeah. Wow. What else should I ask you? Like, what am I missing?
I don't know.
We're at about 40 minutes.
At about 40 minutes?
Yeah. So you could wrap up with some, like
Okay.
the question you ask everybody, like, what would you
Yeah.
tell a young person?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so a lot of the people I've interviewed and probably the people they'll share this with are young. We'll probably share some clips on social media. Probably not quite your demographic. What do you think are the most important messages you have to a young person who's dealing with a fast brain or who's trying to thrive out in the world?
Sort of like just a few sentences ago, get into the right environment that's going to support it and not have to fight it all the time. Because if you're in an environment that you have to fight it all the time, it's just too hard and you will beat yourself up too much. So find an environment that works for an ADHD brain where you're doing lots of different tasks, lots of different focuses, and problem solving and creative problem solving, not necessarily the staid things. At least that would be my experience, is not the regulated. I'll just tell you a quick sidebar story. So my dad is dying.
Yeah.
My mom has been in nursing for 45 years. Her sister's there. She's been in nursing for 35 years. My brother and I are in the bedroom with my dad, and he's been given morphine, and he won't take it because he doesn't know what it tastes like. So I taste the liquid morphine and say, Dad, tastes like cherries, take the liquid morphine. He does. I go into the kitchen to tell my mom and my aunt that we got him to take the liquid morphine because we'd tasted it. And I guess that would be about 80 collective years of medical experience. They had never, ever, ever tasted the liquid morphine. And I'm thinking, well, how do you convince somebody to take it if you don't know what it tastes like? Yeah. So I'm so grateful I did not become a nurse, because I might have been a little bit too casual about the drug dosages, right? A little too casual. So find an environment that supports your brain and start to develop the strategies that make it work for you. So you're not so different and so difficult and being judged all the time.
Yeah.
It's the being judged that kind of annoys me.
Yeah. Any other, like a lot of this is focused on business, but one of the other things I think is important to look at for especially this kind of mind is that success isn't just financial and business success.
Oh no, success is really relationship success and being happy with yourself success, right? That's what it's all about. And again, the ADHD brain, you can go so many different directions in a house every day. I've decided I really, really hate cleaning my kitchen. Like I do, because it can take an hour. I'm thinking, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to just do a 5-minute hit here and a 5-minute hit there, because I can stand that. And I'm going to do my level best to keep my kitchen tidy, so I never need to spend another hour, a full hour cleaning my kitchen. Break my day into 5-minute tasks, because my brain likes 5-minute tasks. My brain does not like cleaning a whole house.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna honor the 5-minute things. I've got a list of I've created just recently a creative list of 5-minute things that I can do and make a difference in my environment. Because the more peaceful my environment is, the less stimulated my brain is. And it can be stimulated in creative ways instead of junk ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good reflection and insight, is how a lot of the time we're guided by these subtle shoulds that we don't necessarily notice. Like, this is how you should clean, or this is how you should organize things. And again, we can be resistant to that. And sometimes it's right, but sometimes we don't even notice the shoulds that shape our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
But trust, another thing I've learned is to not make decisions right away, because I love making decisions right away. Big ones, personal, like that's my favorite thing. But I've learned to sleep on it. And again, I tell my brain, let me know how this is going to work for me. So I sleep on it. And if I have an anxious sleep, I'm going, ooh, maybe that isn't such a great idea. But if I wake up going pretty calm, I'm going, okay. But I've had time, my subconscious, my superconscious, something's been processing it overnight. And that's really helped me to make better, less impulsive decisions.
Yeah. How have you been able to not make those decisions? How have you been able to tell yourself to sleep on them?
I did. Like, I talk to myself. I tell myself, and I tell people now. I say it out loud. I think this could be a really good idea, but I've learned that I need to sleep on it. So I'm going to sleep on it. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if the opportunity disappears overnight, guess it wasn't that good anyway. I don't care. I'm going to stick to it's my values. Like, I want to sleep on it.
Yeah.
I want to be true to myself. Because unwinding the clock when you've made a bad decision is so time consuming and energy consuming, and it hurts the ego.
Yeah.
So because of, again, that's such a heavy cost that it's worth to sleep on it and just take the time to reflect.
Yeah.
And not even really reflect. I don't want to think about it. I want my subconscious to think about it, because if I think about it, I'm going, oh, all the positives, all the negatives, and you blah, blah, blah. I can't think that way. No.
Yeah.
I need to just feel about what's it going to be like.
Yeah. That's really great. Do you have anywhere online, like you've done a few podcast videos or anything, do you have anything online that you'd like people to follow, or are you just sort of happy?
Not yet,
Yeah.
but it'll come. I think it'll come, because it keeps me interested, and it forces me to learn. By thinking I'm a bit of a teacher, I have to learn more, and I have to delve down. Can I tell you one thing I learned yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. I randomly picked up this book on codependency. Of course I'm not codependent. Like, really? Gotta be kidding. And then I read and I think, oh, but I discovered, I thought this myself, and then I Googled it to find out that it was in fact true, that self-love is the opposite of codependency. Yeah. So if I want to get rid of codependency in my life, nature abhors a vacuum. I need to fill the vacuum with self-love, and then there's no time for codependency.
Yeah. And what does that look like? A lot of people struggle with self-love. How are
doing things for me?
Yeah.
And if I'm supposed to do something for somebody, how does it fit into my world? And does it fit in, does it fit into my world nicely? Then that's great. But if it fits into my world, for example, better tomorrow, well, then I need, self-love would say it needs to be tomorrow if it works for them.
Yeah.
But I don't need to sacrifice my own for everybody else's.
Yeah.
Just moved my mom this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was going to go to aerial yoga yesterday for the first time.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I should just stay and unpack my mom. And my friend said, is that self-love or is that codependency? If grandma's house stays untidy for an extra day, it really doesn't matter. I will go to aerial yoga and I will help her with her house another day.
Yeah.
But that's self-love, because that self-love took up the space that codependency would have taken up.
Yeah. Wow. I think a lot about integrity. I feel like it's a sort of a similar thing.
Yeah. Integrity to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a conscience, and it's not always speaking in verbal ways, but there are cues where you're like, this is right for me, or this is not right. And to me, like when we were reflecting back on success, like for better or worse, I think my integrity has been, my vision of success is like that voice in my head doesn't get disturbed, because like maybe I could get more money working for a company that's out of my values, but then I would have to deal with this grating voice in my head.
Well, you've been making some business decisions lately, and then a few times we've talked about them where you felt that the people, you'd done a service worth X dollars, but because of their circumstances, you wanted them to pay X divided by 2 for the service that you gave them, just because it rang true to your values. And you made that decision, and that's an integrity, and I so honor that. Yeah. There's lots of money. There's lots of money to be made. There's lots of opportunities to be had. And if that is what your intuition, your gut told you, and your value system said, then that's good. And if you get screwed once in a while by it, who cares? There's lots. There's lots out there. Doesn't matter. And the getting screwed on it, for example, would be a reflection of them, not a reflection of your generosity.
Yeah.
So I honor that. And to stay in that space is really powerful.
Yeah. Well, I really love being your child. I
I love you being my son.
I want to thank you for this gift of my brain and the attitude and all these other things I've picked up over the years. It's been a pleasure to share that with whoever's listening.
Yeah, it has been. It's been fun. And it's fun having you as a son and being able to share this experience and learn more from it so that we can lead richer lives and lives where we communicate really well with each other so that there's not the angst that can often happen between parents and adult children. We're free of that.
Yeah.
We're free because I think we get to be honest enough with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Liam.